Welcome back, sports fans, to the Week 6 recap for the Lansing Area Blood Bowl League. My name is Rob, aka Lantern Noir.
My name is Chuck Norseman. We're here to talk about some Blood Bowl.
Indeed we are. We're going to start right off with the recap and highlights from around the league for Week 6. We start off with the Ragnaroks versus Tomb Raiders. A solid game of Undead, the Shambling Undead squaring off against the Tomb Kings. The Ragnaroks walk away with a 2-0 win, losing the casualty battle 0-1. The 7-star Jewels, another Shambling Undead team, squared off against the Wait is Ogre. An absolute brutal matchup between two highly competitive teams, both built for destruction. This included a Jewels Ghoul with a leap over other downed players to hit the blitz into a sack, holding the score at 1-0 in the Jewels' favor. And then we turn to the Delphi Dip Duck Dodgers, squaring off against the Stunt Run. So this is whole Amazon via Snotling. The Amazons could not be stopped, running the score up to 5-1 over the Stunt Runs and taking the casualty count 4-2. Chuck?
So on my side, we're starting out with the Norse versus the Fowlers. Chris W's the coach. The score was 1-1 and the cast count was 3-3. Chris's star player, Weathergraph's Double Drool, ended up being the MVP of how he got that touchdown with an insane catch, or throw, catch, 4-up dodge, 3-up dodge, and 2 go-forwards to get in there. Next, we have the 10 Pounds of Chaos Store Dan versus John and the Silly Gooses. Score went to Dan 2-1 favor, and the cast count of 4-2 for 10 Pounds of Chaos. But John's gaining momentum. 2 games, 2 touchdowns so far. Keep it up, Silly Gooses. Paul and the Elves versus Leonard Skinner and Daniel and his team. Paul showing us that he's here to play some Blood Bowl with a new league record of 7 touchdowns in a single game versus Leonard Skinner's 1. And the casualty count going to Paul 2-0. He did get 2 blitzes, which helped with the pressure on the ball. But Paul's just playing a different game, and he's showing us where he's at. To you, Rob.
All right. Another Amazon matchup. The Lustria Monarchs took the pitch against the Bramble-shod Tooth Takers. The Amazons, again, could not be stopped by the opposing defense, despite almost killing an Amazon thrower with a Goblin Bomber. Their Apothecary came in clutch to keep that thrower playing in the future. The Amazons walked away with a 5-0 win. So shutting out the Tooth Takers and showing that when they are able, they are going to find that end zone early and they're going to find it often. Moving on to Green Legs and Wham, our top team, number 1 in the league, squaring off against the relative newbies, the Purple Frogs, in a ringer match. The Frogs came to show that they were not to be taken lightly. The score was 2-0 to the favor of Green Legs and Wham, but I think holding the number 1 team in the league to just 2 touchdowns shows very good mastery of defense and the ability to just create a wall that even the Orcs can't simply march through. Then we move on to the Golden Shamrocks versus Unde Thwap. So again, the undead, in this case Necromantic Horror, are squaring off against the very much not yet dead, the Bretonians. A solid matchup, but again can just shows how lethal that Golden Shamrock offense can be. A 2-0 advantage in the casualty count and a 2-0 score. Game goes to the Golden Shamrocks.
All right, next we have the Ramble Shamble Squad, Mark and the Shambling Undead versus the Purple Frogs here for their actual game. Score is 2-0 in favor of the Undead, but the cast count 2-4 in favor of the Frogs. There was a gameplay where the Ghoul caught a 6-up interception and then tried to go for it and tripped and fell on his feet. Same shame.
Knuckles Tripwire gets him every time.
It doesn't matter where it's at. The Wahala War Boys and Eric versus the Snot Trans Jimmy. Score was 3-0 in favor of Eric, and the cast count was 6-2 in favor of Eric and the Wahala War Boys. They're taking no names and killing everything in sight. Next, we have the Bonehead, Sarah versus Brett and Luke. Bretonians, Luke is the coach. Score was 2-1 favor of Sarah and the Boneheads. And the cast count was 4-0 in favor of the Boneheads. Sarah takes down undefeated Luke. Only 5 undefeated players remain in the league. Strong.
That is intense. And last but not least, from our recaps, we've got the Gabi Horror Picture Show. Josh's Goblin team against the Nekahara Decapitators, Tomb Kings. Alex is the head coach there. Again, Goblins bring chaos everywhere they go. This game was not an exception, and that chaos was enough to force Alex to accept a tie. That's right. The Decapitators were held to a 1-1 tie against the Gabi Horror Picture Show, winning the casualty count 1-0. So,
all right, Rob. Let's talk about these.
Talk about how we did.
How we done on the recaps. You kicked my butt again. You're calling these games very well, and so far, just smashing me. It's great.
Yeah, our first game that we were talking about from last week and our recaps this week was Durn's Defenders against the Sudden Fall Striders. Now, in that case, I went with the Defenders.
Sudden Fall Striders. I thought Andy was going to get there.
And the Defenders took that win 2-1 in what sounded like an absolute grind of a game.
Yeah, those dwarves learned how to play against the elves, I guess, and Elven Union's not the same as the High Elves, and that just goes to show it. But you my boy, Blue.
We also talked about the Fielsdorf Oaths versus the Bester Jesters in an Old World Alliance square-up match. This really did come down to, as I understand it, there was, I think, a 10,000 gold piece team value difference between the two teams.
Yes.
It was an absolute perfect matchup. A very rare case in the league game of it 100% being coach versus coach.
Yeah, it was an epic game of chess, and I was here for the game. I was able to watch most of it. There was dramatic rolls that were critical on both sides. The coaches were literally falling on the ground in excitement over the roll of the dice.
And what's exciting to me too, and I think this game highlights one of the best things about Blood Bowl, is it was a zero casualty game. It was 100% ball possession, ball control, ball movement, and no factor of how hard you could hit beyond making a lane.
I mean, this is Blood Bowl though, like not golf. I want to see some blood on the field.
Fair enough. And in this game, the Oaths, we both picked the Oaths. The Oaths took the win 2-1 in a close, tight matchup.
Very tight. Andrew just got there.
We have the Fungus City Cheats, the Goblins, versus Savage Joe's Gym, the Lizard Man team, in another matchup that we both had a chance to discuss. And it came down to, if I recall correctly, the issue of how fast the Cheats can find the end zone versus how much damage the Savage Joes could inflict.
Yeah, because if Savage Joe's was coming off of a roster rebuild from a previous game, and I said if he built his roster right, he would have a better chance. He built his roster how that coach chose to do it, and the Goblins ate them for breakfast.
And I'm not entirely sure how. Again, picking the Cheats to win, I take my win, but I'm not entirely sure how much blame we should put on the Savage Joes and their coaching staff when you've got a Doom Diver with the agility and speed that the Cheats are bringing to games. You are going to find the end zone frequently.
Yeah, those lizards aren't that tall. So.
No, that's the catch. The white lizards can't jump.
Wow.
Anyway, Danville Dan Rats against the Skull Ranch Rioters was another game we were talking about.
Oh, such a good game.
And this was about speed versus damage. Now I've heard the wisdom: if the player position starts with a W, you pound the crap out of it. So that's your Witch Elves, your War Dancers, your Water Runners.
That's right.
And I was confident the Skull Ranch Riders were going to walk away with this one with a collection of rat teeth on necklaces.
Not even close. They played in the Iron Arena. The pitch was all iron ground. Both models, both teams, extremely well painted, matched the terrain perfectly. The Gutter Runners finally got off the bench and showed up and played the field. Despite the blood for the blood god, those rats didn't care. They were able to get in, get past the fighting, and just kudos to that game. It was a fantastic game.
Yeah, and that was 3-1 to the Dan Rats for that game. So it was just a solid game all around that they brought to it.
All right. So now we're going to talk about this week's predictions.
We got to talk about the upcoming games. We got to
See if I
talk about the ones that are going to really star us.
So we can defend my honor a little bit over here.
And I think the number one team we're going to start off with is the Fungus City Cheats versus the Gabi Horror Picture Show. So this, like our last week with the Old World Alliance square off, this is a Goblin team square off.
Goblin versus Goblin.
So what are you thinking?
So after talking to the coaches on the sides, and I think the best thing I've heard of so far is it's all about how many bombs, how well the bombs are thrown, and how you're going to utilize the Doom Divers. Saying some Doom Diver might go for touchdowns, and some Doom Diver might go for the other Doom Diver, like a luchador.
Yeah, and the Fungus City Cheats are staying at number 5 in the league, whereas the Gabi Horror Picture Show with the same team has really struggled to move up. And I think a lot of that just has to do with some bad moments on the pitch, some things that just were beyond the coach's control. I personally am feeling that this is the moment that the season turns for the Gabi Horror Picture Show. I think bringing down a Team 5 team is going to show that the picture show has what it takes. I'm picking them for this one.
So am I, actually. I'm picking Gabi Horror Picture Show. I think he's got a good game plan on how to deal with that Doom Diver, and I think he's just willing to embrace more of that Goblin chaos that Nuffle's going to smile on.
All right, there we go. Next up, I want to talk about the Befoulers, who are sitting at number 14, versus the Ragnarots, number 2.
Yep.
So we've got Undead versus Nurgle coming into this, and this is what I think is very interesting. The Ragnarots have 13 touchdowns so far this season, and only having allowed 1 against. The Befoulers have only allowed 5 touchdowns all season.
That's right.
So the Befoulers are bringing a solid defense to this game, which is going to make this a tight battle.
I think it's going to be a very strong fight because the cast count on the Befoulers is 12 versus, Josh's Undead only 10. But the Befoulers are coming up with 5 big guys, 4 strength 4, 1 strength 5.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not, if that doesn't include if there's any star players able to come onto the pitch.
Yeah, with the Ragnarok season, I would expect there to be some inducements that could be a factor. Now, you've got some first-hand experience coaching against the Befoulers.
Absolutely. That disturbing presence is just remarkably dangerous. And I think that's kind of going to give the edge to Chris and the Befoulers, because when you waste 3 blitzes and roll 1, are you re-rolling? You usually re-roll a disturbing presence and let the blitz go off, or you just let it slide because how impactful is that honest blitz into a strength 4, strength 5 player?
There are only 16 blitzes in the game.
I know. And his guy's got guard on top of that. So the big guy's got guard. It's dangerous.
It is. So you're officially calling it?
No. I would like to see the team values to see how many star players or how many inducements Chris is going to be able to bring to the team. But Ragnarots and Josh E., he's in second place for a reason, and I think he's going to have a game plan going into this. I think Josh is going to edge it out, but I think Chris is going to make it really hard for him. And just on record, before you say who you pick, if the Befoulers take the W, I wouldn't be surprised.
However, you are going...
I am going to stick with second place. Josh is in second place for a reason. I'm going to go with the Ragnarots.
Having squared off against the Ragnarots myself, I have seen that defense in action. As much as I appreciate the disturbing presence as a factor on the field, I firmly believe that the Ragnarots have the skill set to just stop the Befoulers from scoring. I'm not even going to say Ragnarots are going to, I'm guessing it's going to be something like a 1-0 win.
I agree. This will be a 1-0 game or maybe a 2-2 game.
Yeah, it's going to be a tight game.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got that. Now, let's move on to the Golden Shamrocks, who are coming into this next matchup with 22 casualties and having only allowed 3 touchdowns against the Sunfall Starstriders, who, as a flip, have 11 touchdowns so far this season,
right,
coming off a huge game 2 weeks ago where they just ran the score up and having only inflicted 4 casualties.
Yeah.
So what are we thinking about the Necromantic Horror versus the Elves?
Well, Andy and the Sunstriders are still recovering from that nightmare game a couple games ago. He's still packing 2 journeymen. He's got blitzers missing next game. I think Andy and the Sunstriders just don't have all the tools in the toolbox to provide the Necro Horrors and Eddie a good, solid fight. It's going to be journeyman getting murdered by werewolves and ghosts. It's going to be bad.
Now, see, I firmly disagree.
Okay.
I believe that if we look at where we're at, that I don't see that allowed 2 touchdowns lasting much longer, or 3 touchdowns for the Golden Shamrocks. I think the Sunfall Sunstriders have the speed, they have the agility, they have the ability to get away. Often enough, they will find those pathways to the end zone. I'm not thinking a blowout. I think that might be a little more than the Striders can put up. But we know they can play a good game when they're shorthanded. The Elvin field is deep. That front office knows how to utilize LinkedIn to bring in those players.
That's right.
Get them through that combine and get them out onto the pitch. I'm going to go with the Sunfall Striders for this one.
I like enthusiasm, and I was Sunstriders. I thought were going to take the W last week, but they didn't. It's just not going to be there. I think now. To your point, I think the Sunstriders and Andy is going to get probably 3 or 4 touchdowns in the game. And if Eddie and the Necker Horrors can keep up with that, great. But I think the cast count's going to be another bloodbath. And I bet Eddie and the Necker Horrors are just going to step up and cut things in half.
That very well could be a game decided in the opening minutes.
Yep.
Speaking of games that have decisions in them, let's talk about our last pick for the week, the Green Legs and Wham. Our resident Orc team sitting at number 1 in the league, undefeated, not even with a tie. So we're talking a perfect 6-0-0 record versus the Lustria Monarchs, who are currently down in 22nd place, but have such potential.
You're just saying that because they're Amazons.
That too.
I've played against Matt A. and his Amazon team. Very solid coach, very defensive player. I think he's not scared to dodge. I think that's going to be an important factor. Matt and this Amazon team, he is not scared to roll a 3 up, 3 up, 3 up, 2 up, 2 up, and just go for it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to throw Craig off in his team.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a factor. If we look, the Monarchs have 8 touchdowns so far this season. They're not top of the league, but they're solid.
Right.
And so despite the fact that the Green Legs and Wham coach have only allowed 1 touchdown this season, and it was a 1-turn touchdown at that.
Right.
I think the Monarchs are a team that have the potential to
get
around that Orc defense and find the end zone. Especially with Matt coming in as a coach who's willing to call the big plays.
Yep.
He's willing to risk it out there. He's willing to say, you know what, let's make this happen. Get out there, run the flea flicker, run the option, find the end zone, get in there, girl. And I see that as being the deciding factor. I'm picking the Monarchs in this game.
No, okay, I'll do this for you. I'll throw you a bone and say that I bet Matt A is going to score the first traditional, honest touchdown versus Craig and the Orc team. But my picks for the Orcs, they're just going to eat these Amazons for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's going to be bad.
All right, and those are our predictions for this coming week. We want to take a quick moment and thank our sponsor, WSQK 94.5 FM on your radio dial, coming to you around all the pitches, broadcasting from Hawkins, Indiana, from some unknown location. They provide the tunes, they provide the hits. They don't just provide the soundtrack for your life, they provide the soundtrack for your survival. So tune in to 94.5 WSQK, The Squawk, and say hey to Rockin' Robin as she turns the tables in your favor.
Until next time.
Any closing thoughts?
No, don't have anything. I'm excited about next week's games. We're going to week 7, and then we're going to start doing interviews with the coaches live on scene after the midway.
Yeah.
See how that goes.
All right, until next time, my name is Rob, a.k.a. Lantern Noir.
And my name's Coach Norseman.
We'll see you next time.